How to cope with stressful events. Many who are still reeling from the pandemic's financial, emotional, and logistical costs, the extra burden of war and other stressful events may be overwhelming. Here's how to deal with trauma with a lowercase t, which is trauma layered on top of trauma of any type. Take action to regain your power. Ukraine and other crises may seem far away, but when we see horrific and unsettling photos on social media, they remain near in our thoughts and emotions. Powerlessness contributes to stress and trauma. Anxiety, bewilderment, and fear may all be symptoms of trauma, says Goodwin, a psychiatric physician at Kaiser Permanente. When we think about the traumas that have happened in our lives, they can help us understand our current situation and figure out how to deal with them, he says. People in our neighborhood may have a more immediate connection to what's happening across the seas, we realize. Attention to community members with relatives or background in Eastern Europe, he advises. Perhaps we might then ask, how can we be proactive? What can we do to help our communities and those in need? He suggests volunteering, contributing, and advocating to combat confusion and impotence. Even after today's events have gone, stay listening and considering how you can help those impacted in your neighborhood. It's unpleasant to consider, yet potentially terrible situations occur constantly worldwide. Don't overthink it. Your sentiments are justified if you think the world is a mess. But, according to Goodwin, we should draw consolation from what we know and what we learned throughout the epidemic. Espère que people will accept the reality that COVID will return. We have to depend on what we know. We have masks, vaccinations, treatments, and knowledge, he adds. In certain ways, the epidemic is more foreseeable than another global leader, he argues. There is some comfort in knowing that we can manage one global crisis at a time, rather than having to cope with two at once. Preventative emotional upkeep. That's not because he doesn't believe in it. Instead, he tells his current and former military customers to utilize a word they may have acquired while serving, preventative maintenance, which refers to maintaining weaponry and equipment. Using these preventive methods to strengthen your emotional capacity may help you cope with numerous severe stresses or traumas, Brian adds. According to him, we all have a limited number of reserves to react to difficult circumstances and challenges. Don't be a doom. Adding the danger of a third global war to a virus that has killed over 6 million people might feel like the end of the planet. But, as the mental health industry calls it, catastrophizing just adds to your felt trauma and stress. Both experts agree that too much doomscrolling might lead to this sort of thinking. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the world's challenges if you rely only on social media for your news, according to Goodwin. According to him, it's necessary to be informed since it gives us a feeling of control. But it's also important to set boundaries. Emotions such as worry, fear, and wrath drove Brian to delete various social media accounts. Taking charge of our surroundings, he adds, helps us remember that huge pressures or traumas aren't the only things going on in our life. Brian believes that stress exposure, particularly for veterans viewing conflict media, might re-trigger PTSD symptoms. A person who has never been in a combat zone and may consider the events as unfortunate, but still believing that the world is a safe place populated by nice people may be more likely to feel high levels of stress. In the event of a veteran, or anybody else enduring severe stress, he suggests treatment is preferable to some of the aforementioned DIY methods. Parents should also be aware of how much they catastrophize in front of their kids, whether via media or overheard discussions. Knowing how much youngsters can tolerate may help protect their mental health. Goodwin argues that even if they don't appear to be listening, kids are absorbing information.